Hello, this is Jeff Byers. Welcome back, and this is Annie 255, and we are now on Module 3, and you'll be creating a downtown street scene using pre-built 3D textured assets, and of course, or your original 3D textured assets that you would like to create. And you're going to create a high-pressure water pipe break simulation using particle dynamics. The idea is to have you guys can stage this any way you want to. You're going to have to make sure that you have all the requirements, the assets that are required, and they are the downtown street scene, low poly. You have to have a minimum of 2 buildings, road, and a sidewalk. You have to have a car, low poly, and a fire hydrant, low poly. Those are easy to find. And then a minimum of 5 3D prop assets that you're going to put along the street, which can be like a stop sign or a parking sign, newspaper vending machine, sidewalk bench, sidewalk garbage can, light poles, bicycles, etc., etc. And you'll set dress this any way you want. And the idea is you're going to create an animation, the minimum of 200 frames and the maximum of 600 frames. And you'll create a simulation of the car crashing into the fire hydrant, and then of course the high pressure water will come spilling out from the broken pipe, and you'll create that simulation for me. And we want to create it as realistic as possible. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with it. So let's start with just the simulation without all the other stuff. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it all together and then recreate that simulation and animate it. So we'll talk about that in another video, in the next video. So we'll go ahead and get started. And so we're still working with legacy particles, so we'll get into the end particles soon. We've got one more module, and so we're going to work with volume. Okay, volume emitter. So if you don't have this set up, go to Hotbox and Controls, go to Show VFX or FX, and go click on FX only, and then go to End Particles, go to Create Emitter under Legacy Particles down here. That's important. And then we're going to click on Volume, and we're going to click on Sphere for volume shape, and the rest we're just going to keep as default. Okay, so I have no idea how many frames we're going to need. Let's keep it at 120, and make sure that your render settings are set up to play every frame and 24 frames times 1. For simulation, go ahead and play it, and you see the simulation's working just fine. I don't know if you can see the particles or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get it so you guys can see the particles a little bit better. So let's go into particle shape so you can see that I've got my outliner open. I've got the emitter and the particle system, and I'm going to go to particle shape, and I'm going to go ahead and go from points to blobby surface and click on render type, and let's get that radius down to something like 0.1 maybe, like that, so we can see it. And also let's go ahead and give it a color. Because it's a blobby surface, we can actually add a blend to it. So I'm going to go to Assign New Material and just go add a blend and just turn that into something like blue. Let's do kind of a bright blue. There we go, so you guys can see it. So there we go. So that's much easier to see for you guys. There we go. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and change the rate to 1000. So let's go back into the emitter. We're going to stick with the emitter for just a little while here. So we're going to add a 0. Okay, let's go ahead and rewind that. So we're going to get quite a bit more coming out. Distance and direction. We're going to turn this to 0. So direction was at 1. We're going to change that. And random speed, we don't want it to be coming out at the same time. So let's go ahead and randomize that at 1. And then we've got away from center. So it's pushing it away. So we're going to do 0.5 on that. That's the strength of it pushing it away. And then axis along axes. Okay, that's the important thing. So right now it's just spitting in all directions, which doesn't really help us. Okay, it would be okay for an explosion of particles, but we want it to go up. We want it to be forced up. And the reason why I picked a volume instead of a directional emitter is because a directional emitter comes from a point out, and if you were to break a main, water main, it has a circumference, and that water is going to come through that, and it's going to look like a shape of a sphere. So that's why I picked that. The volume works the best for this. So we want it to go along the axis. It doesn't have a direction per se, it just has an axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that out pretty quick at 10. And you can see now it's shooting exactly the way I want it to shoot. Now I could have added a gravity and to pull it up, and that would have worked just fine. The problem with that is I have to have a gravity that pulls it back down again, and you know, if I have a magnitude of 9.8 and then put another gravity on it, it just cancels itself out. So that's not a good idea. So once I have that done, we get this, what looks like this, which is good. Okay, and then we want it to fall back down again. Of course, you can go in there, and let's go back to particle again, and you can experiment with, like, say 100. Okay, and so it's really shooting it out. Okay, so we can go, you know, let's just keep it at 10 right now. It's kind of slow, it's not fast enough, but the idea here is you get to see that when I click on anything higher than 0, it gives you an arrow, right? So if I do 1, it gives me an arrow, and it kind of gives me a direction now, which is kind of nice. So I can go ahead and rotate that, and I can literally shoot that anywhere I want. It's not going fast enough, but let's go back to 10 and shoot it out. There we go. So you can see that, and you can animate, you know, just like we did before, animate the emitter any way you want. The emitters can be animated. The things that can't be animated are the actual particles themselves. Okay, so let's go in here along axis. Let's go back to 10. Okay, there we go. So you can see that if I go to the top of this, it is round. The particles are coming out round. So that's going to fit really nice into a pipe. Okay, so when you have your fire hydrant breaking off, okay, let's just say this is a fire hydrant real quick, and it breaks off, snaps off. Let's go ahead and move that down. Whoops. Alright. And we can snap it off and move it. Let's say it breaks off. And you animate that bouncing around. Anyway, you'll have a hole here, you know, into your cement that you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with that. You're going to have to model that maybe piece of concrete, a section of it, and model that out. So you can have that coming out, and then this thing will fall, whatever. And it's up to you guys how you want to do your animation, how you want this to work, but the fire hydrant needs to be broken off. And you know, the idea is that you guys have a car crash into it, and that's how it breaks off. And then from there, you know, you guys, the whole idea is for you guys to use your imagination, have some fun, and give me a nice simulation that looks realistic. Well, as realistic as you can get with particles. So, and then we're going to go in here and add a gravity. So now I'm going to click on the particles, and go to gravity. Just like, nothing has changed now that I've showed you how to use the volume and then get the direction. The rest is pretty simple. The rest is no difference than what we have been doing. Alright, the gravity, what's the gravity field at? I believe it's not very, it is pretty high. Attenuation looks pretty good. Direction is pulling it up. We don't want it pulled up, we want it to go down. So let's do -1 on that. So there we go. And that's 2. There's a couple things is not good here. It's the emitter speed. So the speed is basically, we're pulling this along the axis, so that's kind of making it a little bit faster. So now, there we go. That looks pretty good. See, something like that. Alright. Looks good. Okay, something like that. That'll work. Okay, so let's get rid of that for now. You get the idea of what I was talking about there. And then what we're going to do is we've got to go in here and make changes to collision. So let's go ahead and create a cube. Again, cubes are the best. We talked about flat, just like a flat plane doesn't really work that well, because that's a hard time seeing that one-sided. So you can see what I mean here. If I move that up, that there is no thickness there. So particles do have, I'm not saying the particles won't collide with it, they will, but some particles will get through or roll around and then finally give up and they fall through. If you don't want that to happen, it's better to use a cube and thin it out instead of just a plane. And you cannot, the problem with this is once I do collision, you can't have any particles underneath here. So I need to bring that down or bring this up, which I can do. So let's go back into the emitter there and let's go ahead and move it up. Okay, that looks good. Alright, so what happens if it goes through, they're going to get caught in here and just kind of roll around. So right now I think that'll work. So click on the particle, and this is nothing that you don't know. We've already talked about this, is to add collision now. So in particles, and we're going to go make collide. Okay, so now it's got a geoconnector on there, and you guys know how to deal with that. The geoconnectors are pretty easy. This is set up from the last time, and I'm just going to leave it as is. It's usually defaulted at 1, and then I think this is at 0. So I'm going to do 0.05 and then a 0.8, and then we can just go from there. I don't think we have enough time for it to come back down, and there it goes. So it is, and we've got, see what I'm saying about that. We've got some. The funny thing about this is is that it's collecting there because it's going through the floor. Okay. All right. So that's an issue. You're gonna have to cut a hole in there. And let's see how far we can get before, is it collecting? Yeah, they're still collecting right there. So let's bring that up right about there. There we go. So it's not collecting. Okay. Alright, so that's great. Alright, cool. So I don't want, that the particles look like that. I just wanted to show you. So I want to go to particle shape and let's get rid of that. So I'm going to go from that to streak. There we go. And it's kept the color. Okay, I've got to click on that again. And now normally it inherited the color, which is actually pretty cool. I've never seen that happen before. So that's unusual. So you want it to splash, right? And you also might want to have it, pan out more, maybe. at the top. So you can experiment with fields to kind of spread it out a little bit more. It's up to what you want to do, what you feel like. I might make it a little more random. So right now, let's go in here, and how long does it take? It takes almost 120 frames to get it to fall back again. Let's go ahead and do 200 frames. That's the minimum of the animation anyway, is 200 frames. There we go. That's the minimum you can have. Right, so you're going to have to do a couple things. What I would suggest, let's see if it'll take the per particle, see if we can get that working. So we're going to create a new attribute here. Add per particle attribute. You can see right there, and they turn black, so it's working okay. I'm going to go to create ramp, and then we're going to right click over and go to edit ramp. And let's just make that a blue at first. So let's go ahead and turn that black to a blue. And then particles might get a little white on the end, at the very end. Just make it light blue. Let's see what we get. Oh. And so we're running out. Looks like, yeah. Alright, so let's go back into particle, the particle shape. That's where it's holding our constant. We want random range. We want it to be way longer than 4. Let's do something like 8. Lifespan random. Let's do 1 on that. And we're getting closer now. I'm just going to go up to the top and come back down again. Okay. There we go. And you kind of see it kind of. Now what we want to do again is what we did before, is we want to click on the particle, and we want it, when we collide again, it's colliding now. When we collide, we want it to break apart into small droplets. Let's go ahead and go into the particle collision event editor. Okay, and again, this is nothing new. We've done this before. So we want to emit, and we want to have something like 4 particles breaking apart, 0.5. Oh yeah, I think that'll work. We can always change that, I think. Original particle dies. Yes, of course. So we want to do that. And click. Create. There we go. So now we've created particle 2. Particle 2, we want it to be connected to the gravity field. So we're going to go up to Windows. And we want to go to General Editors, and we want to go, wait a minute, we want to go to Relationship Editors and go to Dynamic Relationships and click on Gravity. So you have Particle and then click on Gravity, and now we should have Gravity on there. And then we want to take the particles and Shift select Ground and make Collide. There we go, so now everything's colliding. And then we've got to take the particle to go into GeoConnector. And that should be set up. GeoConnector 1. I think they're sharing the same GeoConnector. That's unusual. Usually they don't. Okay, GeoConnector 1. Yeah, okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have so far. Alright, so we don't want it to, we want it to bounce a little bit. So resilience, let's do 0.15. And friction, that's a little bit too high, 0.5 maybe. Let's see what happens. See if that helps. There we go. Except they're living too long. The second particles. So let's go into particle shape. And we want those to kind of be streaks, but we want the tails to be really small. Whoops, not that small. Let's go like 0.5. Streak, okay, great. Alright, and live forever. No, random range, lifespan 1. Let's see if that works. There we go. That looks better. I like that. Okay. It looks like they're white, so I think that's okay. Splashes are usually clear. Water is usually clear, so. And you're only seeing the reflection. Yeah, I think that works. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the particle 2 and add a color to that. So color, add per particle, and then we're going to go in here, RGB, P, per particle, create ramp, right click over it, and go edit ramp, and then we've got the same issue here. Let's go ahead and add that. And I think we probably should do a blue, just a light blue, so it's not perfectly white. And bring that blue up there again to that. Okay, let's try that. There we go. Alright, some things you can kind of mess with. So that's the basic thing you can do. Now, these are just basic particles. I would never go this dark with the particles. You know, and I understand you're not going to get realism here. Yeah, as far as that goes, but I think what I'm looking for is how far it shoots up, how fast it shoots up. Does it react, and does it act like water? And I would say yes. It's pretty close to what it would look like. Maybe it's a little slow, but other than that, it looks pretty good. Now I'm not going to get it to look exactly like water. We'll need to get into Bifrost before we can get real looking water. And believe me, if your computers can't handle it, you'll be screaming and pulling your hair out. So we're waiting till the very end to do that. Some of you guys' computers can handle it just fine, but I got to think of everybody in the classroom. So I might have some alternatives for you guys that can't get the simulation to work with Bifrost, because it's a doozy. Although it does look good though. So here we go. So that's it. I think what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna have you guys play. I would, save your scene, of course, what you have so far, and just build on top of that. So if I go in here and add a radial field at the peak of that apex right there, then let's go ahead and do that. See what we have here. So we got fields of solver. So we got the air, the drag. Air really won't help us unless you want to blow it to the side. Drag, no. Gravity, we've already got that. Newton, no. Radial, yeah, that'd probably work. Push it away a little bit, right? So let's go ahead and add it. Let's put it up at the top. And this will help push it out when it gets to the top here a little bit. We'll just leave it with a magnitude of 5 and all that and see what happens. Oh, it's really too powerful. Okay, so let's go to like 1. It's really pushing it. There you go. So you can see how it's spreading it out. That looks pretty good actually. Alright, so attenuation, let's do 0.5 on that. Alright, that's pushing it too far. Let's go, stop it. Let's go to something like 5 on that. There we go. So it gets to the top and then it's pushing it. There we go. That'll work. Cool. So that gives you more of a dramatic look, and it's more random, which is what we're kind of looking for. So it's more dramatic too. Okay, so now we've got radial field, magnitude of 1, and of course you can kind of tweak that a little bit more. Maybe you could do 0.5 on both of those, or 0.5 on one on the magnitude and 5 on the attenuation. There we go. You can just kind of, there we go, something like that. Just play with it until you get it the way you want it. Try to be as realistic as you possibly can. I almost liked it better the other way, to be honest with you. There we go. I like pushing it out a little bit more. Cool. Alright, so that's the idea. And then when you get to where you are ready to do a simulation, then you're going to want to really pump that emitter up to maybe another 0. Okay, I know that sounds insane, but there we go. That'll give you, that water, and you can see how slow it is now. Okay, it's really chugging, and I've got a really good computer. Okay, so be careful with that. So maybe instead of, let's take 1 away, we're at 10,000. Instead of taking, let's just go to 2,000, and go up from there and see how you're. So I'm still playing it to 24 frames a second, so we're still good. Well, close to it. Yeah. It's chugging. It's trying. It's kind of going between 18 and 24 frames a second. Okay. Now imagine if you have a lot of like over 300. Hopefully you never get this high, but if you have a 50,000 polygon scene, you're probably going to have to do a replacement collision. Okay. What that means is that, let's say I have this beautiful scene and I have a road that is like 1,000,000 polygons. Well, you're not going to be able to simulate the particles on that polygon because that would kill your system. So you turn the high polygon off and you place this in where that road is. Place it exactly in the same spot and have the surfaces like matching, the top of the surfaces. And then when you do a simulation, you have this one on, make sure the simulation's working. And then what you do is you click on that and you turn it off. You turn the visibility off. It's still there. And what you do is you put your 1,000,000 polygon object in there, and you're still simulating on that flat polygon. See? It acts like it's still there, and it's not. And if they're in and that's called replacement, and that will save you. So if you have a 1,000,000 polygon car and you want to simulate the particles rolling off the hood of the car, you're going to have to do a replacement on the parts of the car, and you can do that with using Quad Draw. So that's in your tools, and you would select your car and make it live, and then you go into Quad Draw and start mapping out polygons and creating polygons, and it will fall along the shape of your car. And then you just extrude it out just a little bit so the particles don't fall through, and there's your replacement for your car. You can do that very quickly. It doesn't take much time at all. And you do that for any of the high poly objects. You do replacement objects, so you would get a beautiful effect. And you can turn off the replacement, make the visibility off so you can't see it. But the water just still follows along, and it'll just kind of have it look. It's an optical illusion, meaning that it's hitting that, and it's going to look like it's actually hitting that really nice, beautiful car. So that's the idea. Anyway, we'll talk more about that when we get into the simulation. And don't worry, some of you guys have not had any animation experience. Some of you have. I'm hoping most of you guys have had animation experience. So, and if you do, feel free to bypass the animating part of the car if you know how to do it already. The rest of you guys will have to watch that if you have not done any animation. I'm going to take you through a bouncing ball and get you used to the graph editor. If you have not taken the character animation class, you'll need to know those basics first and foundations. So we'll take you through the next video. We'll be taking you through the scene that I've created and how to set it up. And of course you will have your own scene to set up, and I'm just going to show you what I did with mine, and just as an example of what I need. And that'll be the next video, and I'll see you then.